Yeah. Okay,
Smorgasbord.
Evan. You can go ahead and start off. So you want a
All right.
hearty, nice little countdown?
Yes, please. I'd love that.
Okay. Three, two, one, go.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for making time with the boys today. My name is Evan Hambrick, and this is my co-host Zach.
What's up?
And Zach, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a Sunday. We're recording a day later than we usually do, but
Yeah.
so I've got to take in football pre-recording, which is a pretty big deal for me, as you know.
You've gotten your hit
Yeah,
fix.
I had my arm, like the belt around the arm, needle in earlier. I was ready and raring to go. So,
Yeah.
but there's nothing. The game that's on right now isn't any good, so it's not like I'm missing much.
Damn.
So
Who's it
now,
against? I'm a pretty
uh,
big football buff.
oh yes, the Mr. Football Man, I think is what they call you, or something, some derivative of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, your family did fear me on fantasy football nights. I'm just saying, I was a
I
big
mean,
contender.
they were so scared of you that you just stopped managing your team, so they wouldn't have to worry about it.
I wanted to go easy mode on him.
Yeah, yeah. You didn't
Didn't
want
want to give him too much
to,
trouble.
right. They don't want to see you at your full power. But so the teams playing right now are the 49ers and the Eagles. And let me set the stage for you. The 49ers are a pretty good team, right? They're 2-1, and they were in the Super Bowl last year. They're a good team. The problem is they have a ton of injuries. Like their starting quarterback is hurt, their star tight end is hurt, multiple of their big defensive players are hurt. They're just not in a good place right
God
now.
damn.
And the team they're
What the fuck
playing
happened?
against, they played on the Giants field in New York, and it's notoriously bad. And
Oh,
like the turf is real suspicious. It's sus.
really? You think that might be on purpose? They like
No,
dig a
I
few
mean,
holes in the ground, make people trip over them.
well, it got to the point enough people were complaining about it that the NFL actually went and investigated the field. But they didn't find anything. But a bunch of people got hurt, and really because of the fact that the NFL didn't have a preseason, a lot of players are getting hurt because I don't think their bodies are in the right condition. And that's not to say that they don't do enough like exercising in general to have a good body condition, but taking the physical punishment that is football, I don't really know
Yeah,
if their bodies prepped for it.
they haven't done enough stretches. They're
Exactly.
not enough to take care of their bodies right now.
But yeah, the game tonight's the 49ers and the Eagles. And the problem with the Eagles is that they're 0-2-1, which means they have two losses and a tie.
Hmm.
And the big problem for the Eagles, other than the fact that they just suck, is that the team they tied was the Bengals. And I mean,
Not
even
the
for someone who
Bengals.
doesn't know football, the Bengals are bad. So,
You bet, man. Hate those fucking Bengals.
so man, you just ostracized like a whole community, a whole
Oh
2% of
God,
our viewers who might be Bengals fans.
we've already ostracized so many people from our podcast. Who's
I know,
next?
I
I
know.
wonder.
Well, the next people we're going to ostracize are Amazing Spider-Man fans. With today's topic, Evan, did you like that? You like that little
Oh,
transition? Feel like
it
it
was
was.
sick. It was sick.
Thank you. Okay, so I sent you the article earlier in the week that says Jamie Foxx is being brought back as Electro in the MCU. Now, as America's number one fan of Amazing Spider-Man 2, how do you feel about this?
Well, I've talked to you about it. I've talked to everybody about this. I've even told my grandma about this. I have to let the world know that I absolutely adore Amazing Spider-Man 2. Best movie ever. So I'm in fact ecstatic that they're bringing back Jamie Foxx for this. It's
It's
the best
funny that you
decision they could have made.
it's funny you said ecstatic because electro, electric, static. I mean, you're
Oh,
really
yeah, on
you're making
purpose.
some good jokes. I mean,
Thank you, thank
very
you.
proud, very proud.
uh, no, real talk. That's that's a very. I don't know how I feel about it, man.
Well,
I thought after you sent me the article, I'd have more concrete feelings about this afterwards, but I still like. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you how I feel about it. I don't like it. And even
Yep.
though like I'm a fan of the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, if you're going to take a villain from the Amazing Spider-Man movies, you should take um Lizard from the first one, you know?
I see you take neither,
Well, no,
none
I
of them.
agree with that, but I what I'm saying is if
But
you're
if
going
you
to have to
had
take
to,
one, if you have to take one because
right?
I mean,
That's
look at
true.
how they portray Jamie Foxx portrayed Electro. You have this bumbling nerd in Amazing Spider-Man 2 who gets saved by Spider-Man once, and then it's like, "Oh, you're not my best friend? Well, then I guess I got to turn blue and try and kill you."
Yeah,
God,
yeah. It was a very poor characterization.
the whole movie's
They're
just a
gonna make
mess.
him. It is a mess. I so I'm guessing what they're gonna do is because I've heard a couple theories about it. The one is that they're just gonna be having a different Electro played by Jamie Foxx. I don't know if they're gonna go for the same design.
Right.
I don't think
That
so.
I
I don't think
think
they'll do
Jamie
that.
Foxx put up an Instagram post that he ended up deleting, but in the Instagram post he said that he's not going to be blue.
Okay. Well, then that makes it more likely that this is just gonna be their own take on Electro, just with Jamie Foxx again. Because I've heard some people think that this is like the harbinger for like the a multiverse Spider-Man
Well,
thing.
but here we get the other interesting fact. The picture on the Instagram post he deleted that said that same thing was a Spider-Man multiverse post. Like it was a picture
Okay. So
of Miles Morales, Peter Parker, and I think Spider-Gwen.
hmm. So so you think if they do the Spider-Verse thing, it's gonna be kind of like they're gonna try to bring Andrew Garfield into this?
I think listen, I think if they do the Spider-Verse, then the only acceptable thing and also the thing that's going to make Disney the most money, which is what they care about, is that they get both Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
I would like Toby to be back, but like honestly, I don't know if I want him to be back in this form. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to see Toby back in the saddle, so to speak, but I'm not sure if this is how I wanted it to happen with him like uh I don't know. Well, if they do it, I'll give it a shot and I'll see how it goes because I love the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films.
Right.
Uh I would like them to I'd like them to do him justice.
Well, here's my optimistic spin on it. Is you look at the way we talked last week about the way of how the MCU Spider-Man has kind of squandered a lot of things with Spider-Man because of the fact that they're ignoring Uncle Ben so heavily. Bringing in
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire or even Andrew Garfield, you could have this young Tom Holland Spider-Man actually kind of have to come to terms with Uncle Ben a bit and have to delve
Yeah.
into those issues because he'd have an older Spider-Man there who went through the loss of Uncle Ben and what they failed with ultimately to truly push home with like Spider-Man and Iron Man's connection, they could
Yeah.
fulfill in the MCU, kind of like they did in the Into the Spider-Verse movie with Peter B. Parker and Miles Morales.
Right. Right. Yeah, you could really because you could use them to really get the Tom Holland Spider-Man to understand like the sacrifice of Spider-Man and to really understand like what it means to be that hero and
Right,
such. Uh and I think I'd be into that. I don't know. I'm just not sure, man, because like I'm a bit
right.
worried. I'm not sure if I trust Disney entirely with with Toby if this is what it's going to if they're going down this route, which I'm not entirely convinced is what's going to happen.
How much do you think this was Sony's doing, pushing Marvel to cast Jamie Foxx?
I don't know. I mean, how much influence would they have
Well,
to do that?
the whole deal with Spider-Man and Sony and Disney is that they basically split the property, and that while Marvel has the control of like how Spider-Man fits into their MCU, and I think the specific movies story, Sony still kind of has that overarching creative control in the deal they have right now.
Hmm, I
Because
see. So they
Tom
still like
Holland,
own Spider-Man,
right?
but Disney's just like Spider-Man's manager,
Basically
essentially.
Sony was like, okay, we get it, we can't write a good Spider-Man movie. Disney, you're doing a good job. Just take our character and write it for us.
Yeah, make some money for the both of us, essentially.
Right. And but that's where we're getting into the strange thing with the Sony Spider-Verse that they're setting up now with like the Morbius movie and the Venom movies, is Tom Holland is going to start popping up in those. And also in
That's gonna be weird.
Vulture is going to be in the Morbius movie, I'm pretty sure.
That's
And
gonna be weird. I actually have not. Is Morbius a vampire? I have not heard
yeah,
of
yeah,
Morbius.
Morbius is a vampire anti-hero in Marvel Comics.
Mm.
Um, I don't know too much about him, but he's just one of those like Black Cat-esque characters where sometimes Spider-Man has to fight against them, but a lot of times it's like that ambiguous team up where you never really know if they're going to turn against him or not. I'm pretty sure.
Let's see. And they start making out.
Yeah, yeah, and
Like,
then and that's why the movie has to be rated R because we know where
I
that
see.
goes. Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
Um, but I don't know. I look at also the villains you have from like Tobey Maguire's movies, and if you could bring back any villain from any of the Spider-Man movies to be in Spider-Man 3, why wouldn't you pick Doc Ock?
I thought he died.
Well, if we're establishing the multiverse, if that's
Hmm.
truly what they're going for with this, you choose a multiverse where that Doc Ock didn't die.
Hey, it's true. You could bring back Doc Ock. You could bring back Green Goblin. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, especially if it's Willem Dafoe
Oh my
back as
God,
Green
Willem
Goblin.
Dafoe. That'd be sick. That'd be awesome.
But
And you do the thing where he's like because have you seen the version of the Green Goblin where he's like a big buff
yeah,
Hulk
yeah,
dude?
yeah,
You
that's
could do that. Could be the spin on it.
right. You could even honestly bring back like Sandman from Spider-Man 3,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't complain.
Now, Sandman wasn't bad in that movie. I think he.
Well, it's just one of those stories that I think his side story and the complexity of it is overshadowed by kind of the rough writing of the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And because of that rough writing, not even his side story, which all in all is like sad and pretty compelling, doesn't even hit home.
Yeah, well, it's also part of the problems that you've got so many villains in that movie. It's hard to give Salmon enough time to really have his character have as big as an effect as it should have on
Right.
the story on the characters. Because Salmon just kind of has this story, and ultimately, just so he can get manipulated by Venom, then he'd be like, "All right, well, I regret that." Later, he just leaves. It's like,
Right.
oh.
And I think what I keep coming back to with Jamie Foxx being brought back into the role is that not only are you bringing back a villain from arguably the worst Spider-Man movie ever made, but then you're bringing back the worst villain in that movie. Well, okay, you know
I don't know.
what?
You could
The
make an
the Green
argument.
Goblin, the Green
Yeah,
Goblin, and that's pretty bad.
yeah.
And I would want to say Rhino's pretty bad too, but we saw like 2 minutes of him in that movie, so it's
I
hard
don't.
for me to decide if he's bad.
I wouldn't even think Rhino counts. Rhino was in it there for like a minute.
Yeah, he just shows up at the end for Spider-Man to have the moment with the kid.
I know. What a waste, by the way. You could have used that as like a really cool. You could have at least used that for like a cool scene, cool
Well,
fight scene.
I think the problem with the Amazing Spider-Man 2, much like Spider-Man 3, is that it has a lot of things it wants to do, and I think conceptually a lot of the ideas that it wants to play with are good, but if it had just committed to one of them, then it's a good, there's probably, I wouldn't say good, but it's at least a solid superhero film. But just like Spider-Man 3, it sends its webs everywhere and then it just can't do anything. And
Yeah.
the biggest issue I take with the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the fact that you take the what happens at the end of the Amazing Spider-Man, where Peter's kind of honoring the promise he made to Gwen's father, right? And he like breaks up with her and pretty solidly establishes that like he's going to honor that promise. And then literally the second movie opens up with him just being like, I made this promise, but she kind of cute
Didn't he
though.
do that didn't he do that at the end of the first movie? Like wasn't that the teaser? He was like he leans in because at the very end of the first one he leans in because the teacher tells him like, "Oh, you gotta keep your promises, but he leans into Gwen. And he's like, oh, but the ones you can't keep, those are the best kind. Then it
No,
ends with him smiling about the
I
fact
don't
that he's
think
desecrating his grave.
I don't think it's in that one because I think the end of the first one is Aunt May comes in and maybe hints it a little bit by like talking to him about promises that aren't fair or something. But there's at
Mm,
least a good
I'm
moment at
pretty
the end
sure
of
that's
that
in the first one.
film where Peter honors that promise and breaks it off like in the rain outside of the house, and Aunt May is like, oh, she's a nice girl, and he's like, yeah, whatever. But still, there's that's my biggest issue is that's I don't know. I get what they're going for because in the end, spoiler alert for all of you who haven't suffered through the Amazing Spider-Man 2, Gwen dies just like in the comics, but it doesn't matter because by that point you're so disenchanted with the movie because of all it's done wrong that
Yeah.
it just doesn't hit.
My favorite part of that scene was when he tries to catch her with the spider web, and then it closes in, and the spider web looks like a hand reaching out to Gwen. It's very poetic, Zach.
A lot of
It's
symbolism,
deep.
truly hard hitting. And I don't think Martin Scorsese himself could have done it better, if I'm being quite honest.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
When he said that Marvel films aren't like real films, he. I'm pretty sure he made a caveat afterwards that Amazing Spider-Man 2 doesn't counts as a real film because of how
Now,
artful it is.
I do have to tell you, I've made it a goal of mine to find one topic regarding the Amazing Spider-Man movies that we can agree on as being good. And I'm
Find
gonna
it.
grasp at some straws here, beginning with the very
Okay.
first one. It's that
Okay.
I think, in my mind, the best Spider-Man swinging sequences may be in the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
I mean, fucking maybe. I don't remember what the swinging sequences. I'd
Well,
have to see it again
right.
because
Well,
I know the original Toby movies had some pretty sick sequences. You know, they always did the thing where he would swing around, then he'd swing past the American flag and do a little pose, and then he'd like,
right, and then a bald eagle would fly over, and they'd start playing the national anthem, and fireworks would go off all around him.
yeah.
But I think you
I
look
don't
at
really even
the
go on.
I don't know. There's just something that truly properly embodies Spider-Man's movements about the way they have him swing through in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Um, I might have to send you just like a comparison because I'm not knocking how the swinging sequences like at the end of Far From Home or in any of the Tobey Maguire movies. Because I mean, listen, I don't care what you think of Spider-Man 3 as a movie when Toby first sees himself in the black suit and then is swinging around in the black suit, that's like a stellar superhero scene, you know?
What can you even say? Are there even any swinging sequences, quote unquote, in Far From Home and Homecoming? Because like
Well,
when I think of a swinging sequence,
Far
I
From
think they
Home
did that.
ends with a swinging sequence, if you remember.
That's the only one I could think of. That's the only one I could
Right.
think of. There's like that one where he does it with Mary Jane.
It's not Mary Jane,
Uh,
it's MJ.
but that's what I did. Whatever, man. Hip Mary Jane. Oh my God, I hate Mary Jane in those movies. I
in
absolutely despise
Oh, you don't like
in
Zendaya?
the new. No, no, I'm not a huge fan, and I don't know if it's because Zendaya herself, or if
Mm-hmm.
it's just because of the way they've written her character. But her character constantly talking about like, oh yeah, like I remember this they're on this bridge, and she's like, oh yeah, I remember reading a
Well,
book once. A
she's
bunch of
like a
people died
redditor.
here.
She's like a
Yeah,
redditor. That's exactly what she
she's like
is.
an edgy redditor, and it's like so cringe.
Right.
It's so cringe every time she talks. It's like a this is this sounds stupid, but she acts like someone from like a straight to TV Disney movie. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
well,
It's
you when you breed them at Disney and you raise them in Disney and then you
yeah.
plop them in Marvel Disney, then you get Disney.
She's like a character I'd see off of like High School Musical, because she's the rebel character and she talks about like dark things all the time, and that makes
Right.
her cool. It's like
I don't know
oh
if I would say I dislike her character, but she's definitely not like gonna make any top 10 lists for me or
I
anything.
just think she's like embarrassed. She's like, I find her like embarrassing, like a fourth hand embarrassment whenever I listen to her. It's like, oh
Right.
god.
Well, maybe it's because they do write her like a teenager, and teenagers are just by nature kind of cringy, you
Ooh,
know.
so that's the right you're going with. You think they're just being really realistic. So
Listen, I'm not pushing any realism on anything Marvel related. I'm just saying.
I don't think it's intentional. I think they literally think that's what they think uh is like a good character. I'm not sure how to put that.
Evan, you got to
But
be really careful here because Zendaya fans are like it can be as crazy as like Taylor Swift fans or
can
K-pop
they?
fans.
Being serious right now?
Zendaya is a hugely popular actress, so yeah, her following is insane.
I knew she was like uh she's been in more movies lately. She's in the new Dune movie as well, but I didn't know she had like and she was in, Greatest Showman.
Well, you
Uh
take any attractive young actress, right? And she that Euphoria show on HBO she did. I think she won an Emmy for that recently.
really?
Yeah. But you take any successful young actress that's attractive, and you're probably going to get a pretty hearty following of not only like teenage girls who want to argue at all hours of the day, but also the simp population. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's true. You get a lot of simps nowadays. And it's no disrespect towards Zendaya, not that she
Right,
cares that some
right.
fucking nobody on the internet is saying that he doesn't
She's
like her
listening right now, and
portrayal.
Evan,
Yeah.
yeah, she's gonna dox you and then send all of the stands straight at you.
But I just don't like her portrayal in Spider-Man. I think it's kind of cringe, and I don't even see the appeal. I don't know why Peter even likes her. I could
Right.
kind of get it with Mary Jane in the Toby movies.
Hmm.
She seemed like a pretty nice girl.
Well, I
Uh,
think the important thing that is lost, and it just goes back to the problem with MCU Spider-Man, is you look at like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man movies, and they're constantly setting up actual explanations for why characters act the way they do or feel the things they feel.
yeah,
And then you get into the MCU and it's just like, well, you're going to take this. Here's the bowl of acceptable plot threats.
right.
Teenage love, done.
Well,
You
they
got
tried to
it.
like. There's no like. There are very few characters who are like super shallow. Like just for example, in the first Spider-Man movie, there's this scene where Norman Osborn, Harry is introducing his dad to Peter,
Hmm.
and like you kind of see that like as they're talking, as Peter and Norman are talking to each other, Harry's kind of looking standoffish, like he's kind of jealous of Peter
Right.
and the attention he's getting. And it's like you're already setting that sort of thing up. You can kind of see this like these complex emotional relationships between these characters that evolve not only throughout that movie but through the other movies as well. As you see Harry's sort of inferiority complex to Peter and like his wanting for attention from his dad kind of ends up corrupting him in the second movie and so on.
Yeah.
In the Disney movies, you don't really get that.
You
You
know,
just like
the
the fat Asian
characterization.
kid.
Right. Ned's just there, just kind of like, hey, I'm gonna say some funny things. I'm a comedic relief. You can
Right, like
enjoy
pure
this.
comic relief.
You know, Harry Osborn in the Sam Raimi films, his like that's how to treat character progression in a superhero film or in a superhero film franchise, Because one of my favorite scenes from the Sam Raimi films is in the second one. And of course, the second one has a ton of amazing scenes that are
Right.
very noteworthy, but it's when they all go to Aunt May's. I forget if it's for a dinner or something, but there's just a conversation between Peter and Harry kind of about Spider-Man.
I think it's
And
for Peter's birthday because that's at the
that's what it
beginning of the
is. It is
movie.
his birthday. Yeah. Um, but I think you get a lot of understanding there, especially in the extended cut where the scene goes on a little longer. You understand the frustration that Harry has and the anger towards Spider-Man because, all he really has to go off of is that like Spider-Man killed his dad. And
Yeah.
like Norman was the Green Goblin and all that, but it doesn't change the fact that like despite the misgivings we see in the first movie between them and the jealousy that like Harry has for what the relationship Peter has with his father in a way, um, what that jealousy shows is a real like love for his father and a need for approval.
Well, and that's the thing that was great about that first movie as well, because you see at the very end, Norman did like really actually love his son, because his
Mm-hmm.
last words are towards Peter. He's like, "Don't tell Harry,"
Yeah.
because even though that would, and that's why Peter ends up never telling him the truth, because like even though that would absolve Spider-Man, that would also just reveal the truth about Harry's father, and that's the one thing he can't do to his best friend, and I
Right.
guess all maybe even to an extent, a man to Norman, a man he once respected. It's so like it's shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. It's that sort of deep, those deep emotional complexities, those relationships that we don't really get in the new Spider-Man.
And I think that's what makes it such a tragedy that the Amazing Spider-Man 2 messed up Harry Osborn so
Oh
badly.
my God, they fucked him up so bad.
I mean, first
So
of all,
terribly.
it's pretty well established that Harry and Peter are friends. Like they're friends before any of the fallout happens, you know. And then we're gonna bring them in and be like, oh, they were kind of friends when they were like 4, and then Harry went off to go be
Yeah,
British because
and it
what he went to private school or something. I forget.
right, it was some sort of thing. Well, and it makes like their conflict between each other feel a lot less impactful,
Right.
because it's less like a fight between two friends, one who's sort of fallen off his path, and more like a fight between two people who sort of know each other. And Harry, instead of being like a good guy who's just kind of like lost his way, he kind of seems like he's always been a fucking psychopath.
Right. Yeah. And another like Spider-Man property that I think takes an interesting path with Harry Osborn, and I'm curious to see where they go with it in the future, is what they did with Harry Osborn in the Spider-Man PS4 game.
Yeah, yeah, because spoilers for anyone who hasn't finished that game. Finish that fucking game. It's great. They tease that he like has been gone for a while because you can do those side missions for him, and they
Right, all
tease that like
the like research tasks.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then at the very end, I think after it's an after credit scene, you see Norman walk into like a back room, and then apparently he has Harry in this fucking science tank
Hmm.
doing weird shit to him.
Well, it's
It's like,
because Harry has
whoa.
some like terminal disease, isn't it?
I forget. Maybe
I'm pretty
that
sure
may
that's
make
what it
sense because I
was.
think his
Was
mom had some disease, and I guess it maybe
right.
passed over to him,
Hmm.
and that's what
Well,
happened.
so I'm very curious to see what they do with that because I think like even through the short little audio messages you listen to of Harry when you're swinging around completing those research tasks, they still do a good job of writing that clear friendship between Peter and Harry,
Yeah,
you know?
well, he seems like a cool guy. I hope they don't. I hope they don't conclude the whole Norman Harry thing. Like they don't bring Harry back for the Miles Morales game. Because if they
Right.
do the Harry storyline, I would rather be playing as Peter,
Well,
for obvious
I
reasons.
get the feeling that it's not from the trailers and stuff. It looks like it's not in the same part of New York as where
Okay.
like our Peter Parker Spider-Man operates because I forget the area where they name drop in the game, but I feel like it seems pretty clear that whatever area of the New York area they're in is a non-Spider-Man area, which is why they have the
Hmm.
need for a Miles Morales Spider-Man.
So probably not Manhattan is what I'm guessing.
Right,
Maybe
right.
the Bronx or Queens or whatever the fuck.
Um, and also the like the bad of the game is the Roxxon Corporation, which I don't think was shown in the Marvel Spider-Man game.
Hmm. Okay.
So I don't think we're gonna have to go down the path of like we're gonna lose the Peter Parker we know and love from the first one, except for
Right.
in terms of face. Did you see what they did with
No.
recasting the visual model.
Oh, they recasted the actor.
Yeah, so the actual voice acting for the game is done by Yuri Lowenthal, I think is the guy's name for Peter,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not who did the motion capture. Um, so the look of Peter, because they're doing like a remastered edition of Spider-Man for the PS5
Yeah.
that you can buy, and they've recast the like motion capture model, and the new model looks like Tom Holland. I don't like it. I don't like
I'm
it at
looking
all.
at him right now. He's got this kind of like I'm comparing him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you know what I
He's
liked
got
about the other
more.
guy was that he really gave off the vibe that we have an older Peter Parker.
That's what I was gonna say. He looked older. He has lines on his face and shit. He looks like his mid-20s, or I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
like at least he's getting up there. This guy looks a lot younger.
And that's why I
A lot
think
younger. I don't.
the other guy was just a better fit because you have this Spider-Man who's been doing it for a while and who has had to already go through some turbulence with Mary Jane, and through the game you reconnect with Mary Jane, and there's a lot of history already there, and now it feels like you're almost losing at least the image of the history he's gone through because you have this younger guy in the role now.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say I don't like it. Uh, I do think I preferred. I do think I preferred the older one though.
Mm-hmm.
This younger take. Yeah, because for the reasons you basically provided, I kind of liked the older Spider-Man. I'm not sure if I'm like a big fan of like how they have to constantly keep him like fucking 15, or well, not that young. Obviously, he's in college, but you know what I mean.
Well, I also
I
think
kind of liked because that was
it comes off as almost like blatantly obvious that they're just trying to be like, oh, we have a Tom Holland look-alike now.
right, and not try to be their own sort of thing, which
Exactly.
was kind of like why part of the reason I liked it. Because this is a Spider-Man who's obviously seen shit. He's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like lived through almost all the adventures, except for Doc Ock and whatever. But he's obviously gone through a lot of shit.
Right.
Uh, and I don't know. It
Well,
kind of ruins that illusion.
I don't look at the new younger guy and think, oh, this is a guy who would miss paying rent on his apartment at one point in the game and have to go through a whole quest of finding some flash drive he lost. This is just a guy who's like, up, I'm living in, if at most I'm living in the dorm my first year of college, you know?
I will say I do think his face looks nicer than the old model. I
Well,
do think the face is more
PS5
appealing.
graphics will do that for you.
That's true. That's true. I do like the face a bit more. But I do see the complaints. I think they have some merit to them.
Right. Well, also, the Insomniac hasn't really given any reasons as to why they changed the face, other than to say that they feel like the new face matches Yuri Lowenthal's voice acting better than the other guys did, which kind of feels like a cop out answer.
Hmm. I'll give it a shot. If I actually end up, I mean, maybe I'll end up actually liking it.
Right.
I'm willing to give it a shot.
I mean, I don't think I'm going to buy the remastered edition just because we're already getting I'm pretty sure we're already getting the normal edition for free on PS5.
Oh, really? That's
I,
cool.
I think so because they have that whole list of games you get for free that were like
Oh, right.
PS4 hits, which means I'm gonna
Yeah,
give
yeah.
Bloodborne a second chance.
Please do. I know you don't like those games, but dude, they're great. I
I
think you'll
don't
like.
know.
You should give.
I just don't know if I can say I
As,
don't like them as much as it is. I just don't. I'm not good at them.
but that's no one's good at them at first.
Right.
You're gonna be bad. Listen, I'm gonna tell you the secret. You're always not gonna be. You're always gonna be kind of bad. But that's uh, like you. It's hard to explain.
Well, it's
Like
like
you'll
the
definitely
draw.
get better. Yeah, the
Yeah.
challenge, like you're gonna be definitely. It's not as hard. I don't think those games are anywhere near as hard as people try to make them out to be. They can be very difficult at times. Uh, but I don't think you just got to give it time. I don't know. I really don't know how else to put it without sounding like
Well,
a
I
fucking
kind of
idiot.
I know what you want to get to because there's a certain sense of satisfaction I will eventually reach when it's like, oh, I'm finally skilled enough now to where I'm just mowing down these guys. I'm just flying through this area because I just have it down now. Because that's kind of the thing with those games is that you're constantly evolving as a player the more you
Yeah,
go through the levels.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's like part of the because that was part of the big draw.
Hmm.
Is that like you eventually just your competence in playing, because it's not even just like you play an area a bunch of times till you get it. It's mostly that you get the feel of the gameplay down
Right.
to finally understand how to
Honestly,
actually play it.
what I might get into is saying about getting demon souls just because I know Bloodborne has a more like offensive based approach to combat.
Right. Well, that's I was actually about to suggest that because I'd suggest maybe playing. I was gonna say yeah, to get Demon Souls first to see you like that because that you can get a shield, and like be a bit more defensive with your approach, and
Right.
then maybe go back to Bloodborne at some point after you if you get into that gameplay a bit more because Bloodborne is definitely more aggressive and you have to really abuse iframes and shit. And
Hmm.
if you're not someone who's already like who hasn't already played Dark Souls, the curve to get into that I could see definitely being much higher than usual.
Right. And I probably will end up giving it a chance just because of how good Demon Souls looks. But also, I kind of feel like I'm starting to hone my skills a bit because of Jedi Fallen Order and also Ghost of Tsushima a little bit. Because
Mhm.
there's that, like, in Ghost of Tsushima, there's like perfect parries and stuff. And a lot of combat is you want to parry at the right times and
Oh my
then, like,
god!
you can
Oh my
stagger
god!
damage and things like
Oh my
that.
god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Zach, dude, if you like that, you have to play Sekiro. You have to. Because that's Sekiro. That's the gameplay, and Sekiro is like fucking one of the best, if not the best, one of the best Dark Souls games, Dark Souls
Right.
like games.
Sekiro is intimidating to me because I didn't care for Neo, and I know they're not as similar as like I in my mind I have them being, but because like in Neo
Right.
you have to
I
get to
haven't.
all the different stances, and I mean that's not super different from Ghost of Tsushima because there's four different stances you utilize during combat in that game.
Mhm.
But
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, because I haven't played Neo, so I'm not really sure how to compare them. But I do know that there are no fucking stances in Sekiro. You literally here's the combat.
it's already a
Here's
big
the combat. You
plus.
go up to. Yeah, I know. It's actually it's so fucking its simplicity is its fucking beauty. You just go up to someone. This guy's a big ass sword. You're like, all right, let's fucking fight. He swings your sword at you. You fucking parry it, and then you keep parrying, and they maybe hit back and forth a bit, and you parry until this guy staggers himself, and then you just fucking murder him, and that's the gameplay, and it's amazing.
I might have to give it a try.
It's
I might have to go
so
in on it.
the combat is so it's like they've simplified it. It's simpler than Bloodborne, simpler than Dark Souls, but also so much deeper and satisfying. It's great.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna be real with you. If you play, you're gonna be trash. I was trash. I sucked at that game. It was like those first like that first day or so playing it, I
Hmm.
was having a terrible time because I just didn't know how to fucking play this game.
I feel like I
But
remember
then,
you saying that, like talking to me and being like, you know what, I've started it and I'm struggling, but I'm gonna keep going because I know it's gonna get
yeah,
good.
I wasn't sure about it. Because I was sure it was gonna be because I wasn't sure because I knew I wasn't having a good time with it, but I knew that this was similar to my experience with when I first started Dark Souls and shit, so I decided to keep going. And then eventually, when you're fighting somebody, it's just gonna fucking click. It's literally just like a switch, and then you get the game, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those games I'll probably give a chance. I feel like though my list of games that I have to play are like slowly building. Because right now I
Yeah,
have the 3D All Stars that I'm playing through. I'm also working through Ghost of Tsushima like concurrently. And I mean, as
yeah,
we talked about in our very first episode, the Mario games are more just like I can relax and I play them when I just want to
right.
relax. But I mean, the minute I finish Ghost of Tsushima, I have The Last of Us Part 2 waiting on me.
Oh
And
God.
listen, reviews be damned. I'm gonna enjoy that game. Like,
Okay.
because here's the
Well,
thing,
I think
it's
you'll enjoy the gameplay.
it follows the Naughty Dog formula, and I like Naughty Dog games, so I'm gonna
I,
enjoy playing it.
my prediction is you're gonna come back to me and you're gonna say I enjoyed the gameplay. I wasn't too taken with the story. I
Hmm.
think that's gonna be your reaction because I honestly can't see how you would enjoy the story of the game. I just don't see you having fun with that.
I guess we'll see. I mean, I already know the punches, so I just have to see how they're thrown. You know.
Right, exactly.
Um.
Uh, yeah, because at this point, who doesn't know about
Right.
basically a
Exactly.
lot about this game?
And then after I finish The Last of Us Part 2, by then it'll be like getting close to Christmas, and I already know I'm getting the PS5 for Christmas. Like there's no debate,
Right.
I'm getting it, and then I'm going to be getting the new Yakuza game for my PS4. So
Damn, you've got a lot. You've got a lot stacked
I know.
for you.
Well, and then as soon as I finish the Yakuza game, the only game I'm asking for the PS5 is just the Miles Morales Spider-Man game. So
Right.
then I'll play
I'm
that.
not. Well, and then this summer, then when you finally have all your games out of the way, I'll let you borrow my Sekiro copy
Yeah.
just so you can play it. Just because I want to see if you enjoy it. I think because if you like Ghost of Tsushima sounds very similar to the gameplay of Sekiro, and if you enjoy that, then I think you'll enjoy Sekiro because it's a lot of parries and shit.
Yeah, I have watched some gameplay of Sekiro, um, and I don't know if I
Yeah.
would say I may have made it sound too similar. I wouldn't say they're exactly similar just because of the enemy
No, I
types
wouldn't
in like
expect
the
them to
Dark
be.
Souls games. Right, right. But
Right.
the I think if you break it down to the basics of combat of like a lot of parrying and choosing times to attack, then yeah, that's a
Right.
you know. But
Right. Well, because like the yeah. Uh,
yeah, my
I
gaming log has built up.
I'm not sure when I'm getting a PS5 because I don't know if I'm going to get one
Hmm.
this Christmas because I don't know if there are a lot of games I want for it that are out yet.
Right.
I'm thinking I might get the PS5 for my birthday, depending on what games are out by then. Because the games I really want to play, that I'm really looking forward to is everyone. This is gonna. Uh, I'm really psyched for that fucking Harry Potter game.
Yeah.
I'm like more psyched than I thought I was going to be. And we'll see if it's out by that point or like what it looks like at that point.
Right.
But it's only for the PS5.
I don't
So if
want
I
to
get
get
one,
too excited for it before
I
I
know.
know more about it because everything about the trailer screams MMO, and I just ugh.
But it's a single play. They said it's a single player game.
I know they've said that right now, but then we're
Yeah.
gonna get there and it's gonna be like, oh, it's kind of like Destiny, where it's like
Mm.
you can play it single player, but it's better with friends.
But you know what, man? At that point, I'll have some pretty good internet.
Right,
Maybe I'll be
right,
into that shit. Who knows? Uh, I'll see how I feel about it. I think the whole MMO thing might take away some stuff for me because I really would prefer a more kind of like a make your own story sort of thing, like a true RPG experience.
right.
But we'll see. I can't help but be a bit excited because I've always been a fan of like the Harry Potter series and world since I was a young kid in elementary school.
Right.
Uh, so I can't help but be a bit excited, maybe speculate a bit, but I'll keep my hopes tempered. But
I really did try my hardest to get into those books.
how far did you make it?
Well, I love the first Harry Potter book. Every time I've read the first Harry Potter book, I'm very into it and I finish it real quickly. Because you know how I am, but for those of you who don't, when I get into a book, it's just like I finish it in like 2 days. It's just like I'm reading this and it's all I'm doing in my free time. And that's how I was with the first Harry Potter book. And then literally every time I read the second Harry Potter book, I get like 100 pages in and I have to stop.
So you only really get to the second one then.
Yeah.
Have you even seen them? Do you even know? Have you seen the movies?
I've seen them. I've seen enough of the movies and I know the story because you know my family's really big into Harry Potter. So like
Right.
I've been surrounded by Harry Potter my whole life without
Right.
actually being a huge fan of Harry
So you know,
Potter.
oh, that's kind of sucks though, because that means you know everything about it without having to experience it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to me it's not a big loss,
Fair enough.
but I know for a lot of people it's like, oh my God, he doesn't like Harry Potter. That's like saying you don't like Star Wars.
I don't know if I'd say that's the same thing because I think as time has gone on, people have been more willing to criticize the Harry Potter series. I think, though, to a degree, people overly criticize it. Sometimes
Well, I
I
think
think it's
J.K.
still
Rowling invites it almost because she just
that's
keeps
true.
doing things.
I think it, yeah, I think it's mostly because J.K. Rowling herself has become a figure of much controversy, but I think the series still has a lot of good points for it.
Right.
Though I do recognize it has quite a few flaws as well. Uh, but what you do, that is true about you and books, though. I mean, because you still haven't finished the fucking Game of Thrones series, but you'll
No.
read every
Well,
Stephen King book known to man.
okay, listen, we may have our differing opinions on Stephen King, but the man is a fantastic writer in my eyes.
Okay.
And you know, here's the thing with Game of Thrones. I I loved the two I read. The two I finished, I loved. But the
Oh, I didn't know
problem
you finished the
is,
second one.
yeah, I finished the second one.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the third one that I stopped on. And it's just because I don't want to commit myself to it unless I know it's going to have an ending.
and that's fair. I can't even knock you for that, because like as
Right.
much as I love Game of Thrones, the books, not the show. Uh,
No, whoa. There, you love over half of the show. It's the back
uh,
like three
I would
seasons.
say exactly half. I think I really like the first four seasons. Seasons 5 and 6 are all right. They start that, but that's when the quality starts dropping off for me. Season
Hmm.
6, some parts are good, some parts are not. Season 6, season 7. No, wait, was season 6? I'm trying
Season
to remember
six
which
is
ones
the
are
one
the
that
good ones.
ends with like the best episode of the whole show,
All
where
right, yeah.
spoiler the House of Baelor erupts and you know the what's it called the flame
Yeah. I
yeah.
do think that's a good scene. I do think though that I don't think the aftermath of that sort of event was properly handled though.
Yeah.
Because like that would seem a very fucking underwhelming. I guess you feel like there would be so many fucking consequences for an action like that, but no one, everyone's just like, oh well, I guess Cersei's in charge now.
Right. Well, that's when you just get into the underlying issues of season 7 and 8, especially season 8.
Right, because those seasons are dog shit.
Right. And you know, I would agree that season 6 is very up and down until that last like episode really. Cuz I think the high points for season 6 are like what we get does the Hound come back in season 5 or season 6?
I don't fucking remember, man. That was so long ago
I
when we
don't
watched
know.
those.
I know. But I don't know. I feel like you get through the first 5 seasons, and I feel like they all have a pretty consistent quality. And then you get to season 6, and you start to feel the downgrade up until the end, and then you're like, oh wait, they picked it back up. It's okay. It's okay.
I felt the downgrade in season 5 when they fucked over my man Stannis.
Yeah, you know, I I think you coming from the books and having like your ideal image of Stannis, and then the show doesn't really do him justice in certain departments, especially with his daughter.
Yeah, I stand by
That's the
the
biggest disservice.
I stand by the opinion that I don't know if they I think I'd have to now in order to support this, I'd probably need to do a bit more research into how they portray him in the show versus the book. But I get the feeling I don't think they really portrayed Stannis very well in the show overall
Hmm.
entirely, and I get the feeling that D&D weren't huge fan. They didn't really get Stannis. I don't think they got him.
Right.
I don't think
Well,
they
you know,
understood.
my family talked up Stannis pretty highly before I watched Game of Thrones, and then while watching it, I was like, I like Stannis, but I don't really like see him as like this great character as high as everyone else puts him. You know,
Yeah, because in
because
the
I feel
books
like
I like Stannis quite a bit in the books.
yeah, And I feel like a lot of fans really liked Stannis. And then for me, the whole time, I think the bigger thing for me was I liked Davros,
Right.
and Davros was consistently getting screwed over. So I was just kind of like, well, I don't think I can be in the Stannis boat because I like Davros so much, you know?
When you say screwed over, you mean screwed over by Stannis, or
Well, yeah, he does get screwed over by Stannis pretty regularly.
yeah, and that's sort of blow because like in the books, I believe the relationship is like kind of complex. It's obvious that Davos kind of has to step around Stannis sometimes because
Mm-hmm.
Stannis can be pretty stubborn and temperamental, but it's also pretty obvious that Stannis trusts Davros more than literally anybody fucking
Right.
else. Uh, And the thing about the book Stannis and the show Stannis is that book Stannis, and you can probably say this about a lot of show characters in comparison with the book versions, Stannis wasn't fucking stupid. Like, at least,
Right. No, I get what you like. He's not necessarily an educated man, but in terms of just like making smart decisions and
right. Well, because
following logic.
Stannis could fuck up sometimes, mostly due to his own pride and his way of doing things. So that was the ultimate failing of Stannis, is that he's too stubborn and unbendable. But he wasn't he was also like he knew when he wasn't stupid. And I guess like the way I would put this is that compare the scenario where they have that big fucking snowstorm, and in the show Stannis is like, all my men are dying, I better fucking kill my daughter to
Right.
appease my pagan god. In the book, Stannis, no,
You don't know what Stannis does yet.
well, I will say this though, okay? Because I do know some things about that scenario. Because
Right.
for one thing, Stannis didn't hire. I don't think he's hired a bunch of mercenaries. He actually had Jon Snow help him out and
Mm-hmm.
gave him a bunch of fucking like northern men with big brass balls to go help him retake Winterfell.
Well, isn't it also that the king beyond the wall doesn't die in
Yes.
the books? Right. So that's already kind of a big change between what
Yeah.
Stannis sees and then what in the show with John at the wall and then what's
Yeah.
going on in the books.
And Stannis also, literally, people come up to him and they're like, and it's first off and second off, Stannis doesn't even take his wife and daughter to him to take Winterfell because that's fucking stupid. Why would he take his family and a fucking take fucking fight in this
Right.
goddamn
Right.
snowstorm shit? Uh, and third off, people in the book, I believe someone literally goes up to Stannis and they're like, dude, we can, if we sacrifice some dudes, we can probably get rid of the snowstorm. And Stannis looks at this guy and says, that's fucking stupid. Half of my army are non-believers. What do you think is gonna fucking happen when we start burning people at the stakes? And then guess what? Show Stannis burns his fucking daughter alive, and guess what happens? Half his army leaves and he gets fucked over.
Right.
Like that sort of thing. It's just fucking idiocy. You make my they make my character just like an idiot and kill him off because they just didn't know what to fucking do with him anymore.
That kind of leads to an interesting thing for me. I feel like is that so many times I will watch a show or a movie that is based off of a book, and I won't be happy with what the show or movie does, but it leads me to read the book, which is amazing. Um,
Yeah,
and like obviously Game of Thrones, the ending is it's just absolute shit. I mean, we all know that much. I mean, one of
horrendous.
yeah, people. I mean, there's still a whole subreddit devoted to like dogging on it right now. So, um, but I had an interesting thing actually last night where have you seen on Netflix where they released this movie called I'm Thinking of Ending Things?
Yeah, I've heard about that.
It's done. It was made by the same guy who wrote Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is like a pretty famous and well-regarded Jim Carrey movie. Um,
Hmm.
but like his specialty is dealing with like kind of the human psyche in a way and the way people think and depicting it in movies. But to get to the point of what I'm getting towards here is the fact that it the movie underwhelmed me. Like because we were gonna record yesterday. We had technical difficulties, and I was like, well, I'll just turn on a movie then, because I tried to get people to play Among Us, couldn't get that to happen. So I turned on a movie,
Yeah.
I watched through that, and honestly, one of the most unique but disappointing movie experiences I've ever had in my entire life.
Really?
Yeah, because the whole movie deals with basically existentialism, or maybe that
Hmm.
it, or like, yeah, that's probably the right word for it. But basically, it's a story of a guy who's kind of looking back on his life and coming to terms with it in a way, but doing it
Hmm.
through like another person's eyes almost. Um,
Okay.
but the way the movie depicts it is very confusing, because the way it works is, and if you watch the trailer you see this, is all it really is for most of it is just this guy and his girlfriend taking a road trip, and they talk, and most of the movie is just back and forth dialogue, with a bit in the middle that is where like she meets his parents. And I don't want to spoil too much in case you want to watch it or anyone listening wants to watch it, but largely I was disappointed. I walked away thinking that was a really great cast and they did their best, but the writing was a little misguided and confusing. But
So it sounds like ultimately. Oh, go on.
I was just going to say I bought the book last night after
Oh.
finishing it because I was so intrigued, and I had gotten a certain sense of what the movie was about, but while watching it, but when I finished, I actually had to look it up to make sure I was even right about what I thought the movie was about, which kind of preaches to what I was saying about it not being super clear. It's a pretty confusing tale to watch, but the
Right.
book is great so far.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it sounds like it was had an interesting concept. It just was really muddled in its execution.
Right,
Like got a bit maybe too caught up in itself. You think?
right, and
Like in the artistry of it.
that's exactly what it is that it gets too caught up because the guy changes parts of the source material, and from what
Hmm.
I've read of the book so far, I'd say I'm about halfway through it. um, he purposely makes it more confusing because the book really sets it up in a more subtle way, the way you figure out what's going on and understand everything that's going on with the character and what she's seeing. But the movie tries to do it in almost a more blatant way, but in doing so, veils it under this like disguise of, oh, did you catch that? Like gotcha
Hmm.
moments.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And oftentimes it misses the mark, I feel like.
Hmm.
Um, but it was one of those movies, kind of like when I watched the Dark Tower movie, where I was like, this is such a strong concept. If it was just executed better, I bet it would be really great. And that's the whole reason I picked up the book. But what it brings me to, not only watching it but reading it, is kind of this realization that, like, it's kind of weird, like thinking about where we are in our lives right now. You know,
Yeah.
because like I was, it's weird to think like right now we're both sitting at home, just like talking, and like we were talking about gaming earlier, but like earlier this week I was like talking with someone about like an apartment for
Yeah.
next summer, and that's just such a weird thing to have, these simultaneous kind of um like existences almost, where it's like there's the current me who just is like sitting and playing video games and watching football on the weekends, and schoolwork during the week, but nothing too adult, if you know what I'm getting at. But then it's
Right.
like adulthood's just rearing its head right around the corner, staring us down.
Don't say that. You fucking scare me. I barely. Fuck. I haven't even talked to anybody about apartments yet. Dude, like I'm the guy who's still trying to live in his childhood, if by that comparison.
Well,
Right.
it's not like I'm not trying to be like, wow, Evan, you're like a little 5-year-old at my level,
You want a binky, you
You're
fucking
right.
baby?
But it's just a weird thing to think about. It's weird to think that like summer and fall of next year I could be like not with my family. And it's like, oh, I'm just like, oh, I have to go to the store and pick up some groceries, and I'm coming home and cooking for myself and like
That'll be
a
fucking
roommate.
sick.
You
That'll
know,
be fucking awesome. I
I know
can't.
I'm just a great cook. I know.
Well, yeah, I'm not. I would just basically probably get ramen. That'd be my fucking plan.
You're gonna have ramen, pizza rolls, and what is crab rangoon? Isn't that
Oh
the
my
thing?
god,
Yeah.
crab rangoon. I gotta find crab rangoon. Get some chimichangas up in there, baby.
Yeah. I
That'll
think
be
once
sick.
once you're living on your own, there's only two ways it can go for you. You're either gonna get morbidly obese, or you're gonna get scary thin.
You think so?
Because because all I can think of is like the times I've been over to your house, and it's like in your room you just have like multiple open chip bags
It's not true.
next to like where you're gaming, and it's just like, huh.
I don't. Okay, you're making it sound so much worse. I don't have like I don't eat multiple chips at the same time.
I'm not implying you're eating out of four different bags in one sitting. I'm just saying I walk in and here's an open bag of Lay's for the chip days, and oh, here's an open bag of pretzels for
That's not
pretzel
even
days.
it's not even fucking true. I at most you've seen two, at most, and one of them is empty, and I just haven't. I'm just too lazy and just gonna throw it away.
I just feel like it's gonna be like, oh yeah, Zach, you can come over to my apartment. I'm gonna walk in, and it's just like I walk into your kitchen, and it's just like 30 open bags of
I
chips that you're
guarantee.
slowly working through.
I guarantee you, my apartment is not going to be. My apartment's going to look nicer than some of our friends. I
Oh
guarantee
no,
fucking
you're
to you.
100% right about that.
I'm going to
There's
keep it
there's no
clean.
doubt about that.
Because here's the thing: once I have my apartment, my instincts are going to kick in. It's like, oh, I have to start taking care of it now. Then I'll start cleaning and shit. I don't know if I'll do shit like I don't know if I'll have every Sunday go wipe shit down or whatever, but I'll keep it nice at
Right?
the
Yeah. No,
keep
I'm
it
not.
decent.
Yeah, I don't think you got to be like the okay. Well, it's cleaning day. Time to triple vacuum the entire house and dust everything down and do all the laundry. Like I don't expect that. But I don't know. It's weird to think that like it's we're at an interesting time in our lives. It's just an interesting thing.
And I'm glad we got to do it during COVID.
Yeah. Also, listen, I short little story time. I had to
Okay.
get my COVID test, right?
Yeah.
Because life. But
Yeah.
I had been told by a lot of people that it was going to be really awful, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I had a good time getting a COVID test, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as
Well,
everyone
why would it be
claims it to
awful?
be.
What did you do?
Well, so do you not know what they do for a COVID test?
Nope, not at all.
Okay, so they take this long like plastic stick. It's like a mix between like a tongue depressant and a Q-tip kind of. It's thin, but it's meant so you can get a sample from like the back of your throat through
Hmm.
your like going through your nose. So you just kind of tilt your head back and they insert that thing deep down in your nose,
Sounds
and
terrible.
then they have to hold it there for 15 seconds.
Oh no.
Yeah, and then they do this little swirl so they can like get a scrape, and then
Ah,
they pull it
that's,
out.
that sucks. Sounds terrible.
Um, but I,
But
I
you're
didn't
into
think it
it.
was that bad. No, whoa. Okay, I wasn't sitting there like, yeah, you can go a little deeper with that
Yeah,
one.
you had to, yeah, you had to like when you got up off the chair, you had to sort of bend over a bit. You know what I mean? Try not to make it too obvious.
Right. Like she pushed it down to my nose, and she was about to pull it out. I like gripped her arm and was like, it's staying in for a little bit. No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. But I don't think it's as like traumatizing as I feel like people make it out to be.
Right.
So,
It definitely sounds uncomfortable. I
oh
wouldn't say
yeah, well,
traumatizing.
I wouldn't say it's something I want to do every day. I wouldn't want to wake up every morning and like get a COVID test. That it's kind of crazy that so many like actors and athletes are doing it daily.
Really?
Well, you got to think about it. In order to have these sports work and to open up these film sets, and because you're going to have people interacting with each other and they have to have masks off,
Hmm, that
you know,
makes
they
sense.
they have to do it daily to make sure that none of them are
That
infected.
fucking sucks, though.
Yeah.
That fucking sucks. No, this fucking sucks
What?
that we're out of time for the boys today.
You know, you're right. And you know, I kind of want to start something that we do at the end of each episode if you're up to it.
Oh
I think
shit,
I think we should do
surprise.
like a recommendation for the week for the listeners, something to check out that maybe we enjoyed throughout the week.
Okay. I'll go first then. Is
Okay.
it just like I suggest everyone check out The Venture Brothers,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
show.
just something like that. Exactly.
I've been watching that recently, and it's really great. It's a really funny show. It's you don't even it's a parody off of those old Johnny Johnny Quest.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't have Patrick Warburton as one, or maybe it has
I mean,
someone with his kind of voice.
yeah, it's the guy who does Kronk. I think
That's who it
he's
is. That's who it
yeah,
is.
he's
Yeah.
Brock Sampson, and he's like the best character in that show.
I've seen
He's
clips from it, but I've never gotten around to just like
uh
sitting down
you
and
should
watching it.
you really should check it out. It's a great show. It's really
I,
fun. You don't need to even know anything about Johnny Quest to have fun with it.
I think I'd like it. I can tell that I'd enjoy the humor and also that it just looks like it's a fun show to watch.
It is. It is.
So that makes it my turn now.
Yep.
My recommendation is that everyone goes and checks out the album Mouth Dreams. I can't pronounce the name of the artist, but it's this it's the same guy who did the Harry Potter Puppet Pals.
Oh,
Yeah, crazy enough, I guess he has like a music career kind of. But what it is it's a 28 song album where he's just kind of mixing songs together, and it's very strange to listen to. Like you should go in expecting one of the weirder things you're going to listen to for the week.
hmm
Um, but I liked it. Like I weirdly enjoyed it. For an example, one of the mixings is the SpongeBob theme song with "We Will Rock You," and
Sick.
he slows down the captain's voice from the theme to fit into the beat, and it's like one of the most unsettling things I've listened to.
Oh,
So, but yeah, that's my recommendation for the week. Experience Mouth Dreams.
all right, sick.
Yeah.
Well, I think if that's all, then I guess we're done. Thank you
Yeah.
for making time for the boys today, fellas.
Yeah.
And
Thanks, and tune in next week.
yeah, see y'all next time.
Yeah. Adios, amigos.